Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. And everyone, hey, welcome into the program. Today we are going to highlight a couple of stories, do the headlines, and everyone, we highly encourage you to check out computeramerica.com. That's where we will have everything from show notes, podcasts, all that and more. You can find that there. And of course, links to social media. Give us a follow, give us a like, and you'll find everything that you need to. Now, we're going to just go ahead, jump right into the headlines. We have a number of stories, looking like 8, if I can, no, actually I cannot count correctly, 9. Here we go. So, everyone, we hope we bring you something that you'll enjoy, and sit back and relax, and here we get started. So, Computer and Technology News brought to you by Computer America. So this one's going to be very time sensitive because, well, this just happened a couple of minutes ago. You can check this one out here, where Spotify, Discord, and others are coming back online after a brief outage of the Google Cloud services. And you're going to see this more and more as, let's face it, Google Cloud, Azure Cloud by Microsoft, Amazon Web Services, there's only a few that really host a lot of these very, very large services that everyone uses. And when one gets interrupted, it's going to start causing problems for a lot of people. Now, they say that sites and services like Spotify, Discord, Snapchat, and Etsy seem to be recovering after an outage that brought them and many other sites down for a little less than an hour on Tuesday. And, I didn't know what was happening, but I definitely felt the effects of Spotify in particular. So they mentioned that a peek at Down Detector shows the sprawling impact of the issue, with everything from Pokemon Go to Home Depot experiencing issues. So if you were experiencing issues Tuesday, about middle of the day, don't worry, everyone was. They've reached out to a couple of the companies that were affected and will update respondingly. If you're watching the video portion, you can see it here. Spotify mentioning that, they're aware of the issues. You had Rocket League in particular saying that they had their matchmaking services go down. The tracker showed that many of the services started experiencing issues at the same time. And they mentioned that rather than something like an ISP distribution or individual sites coincidentally having issues at the same time, similar to previous outages that came from problems at Fastly or Amazon Web Services, the reliance on services and providers can help them offer content at a massive scale. There you go. And you can see here, they even took a nice little screenshot of Down Detector and all the ones that are experiencing issues. Spotify, Snapchat, Discord, Home Depot, Google, Target, obviously, Lowe's, all of these obviously share the same provider. So, looks like this was a problem with Google Web Services, and what exactly caused it? Well, they said that our engineering team continues to investigate the issue, and there you go. So they fixed it, and it happened pretty quickly. That's definitely good to know, but you're not crazy. It wasn't just you. It was Google for a change. Things can happen. So that was story number 1. Story number 2 is not I'm not really sure if this is what caused it. They said they mitigated it, so odds are probably not. But check this one out. This has to do with, Cloudflare blocked a massive 2 terabits per second DDoS attack. Pretty scary stuff. And it only comes shy of the first place report from Microsoft just a month ago that was dealing with a 2.4 terabit per second attack. 2 terabits is enough to bring down really almost any online service. So luckily Cloudflare says that they blocked it, but it's massive. They said that this is one of the largest ever recorded. The internet company said in a blog post that the attack was launched from 15,000 bots in a particular botnet, all running the original Mirai code on the exploited Internet of Things devices and unpatched GitLab instances. So many times we talk about the vulnerability of the Internet of Things and how it's important to keep things up to date. Let's face it, not a lot of people really care to update their security cameras. They care to update their refrigerators. They don't really care to update baby monitors. They don't care to update just random appliances around their house that, hey, as long as they still work, as long as they still deliver an image or they still report to their app, whatever it may be, they don't care to update. But when you don't do those security updates, they become slave to one of these botnets. And 15,000 strong, trust me, they can get a lot bigger, and they're going to get a lot bigger. Like, that's one of the main points of an article like this, is that it shows just a couple of years ago, the idea of a 2 terabit per second attack, a DDoS attack, was not really something that you saw. And now we're seeing multiple in a month's time, and a lot of them over just this past third quarter. They mentioned that the network layer DDoS attacks actually increased 44% quarter over quarter. And while the fourth quarter is not yet over, we have again seen multiple terabit strong attacks targeted Cloudflare customers. We saw the effects of this when they target things like, the services that handle airline traffic. Could you imagine if they hit the airline system during the whole travel season coming up in, around Thanksgiving? Man, people would be stranded for probably days, if not weeks, at their location. It would be absolute chaos. So these things are getting more and more dangerous. They're getting more powerful. And they even found that, and this company called Rapid7 found that at least half of the 60,000 internet-facing GitLab instances remained unpatched. So, yeah, this vulnerability that's affecting GitLab, which hosts the source code for a lot of these open source Internet of Things devices. Yeah, just no one's maintaining them. No one's patching them. It's just full of half-baked code, and it will honestly probably never be rectified on a lot of those. So, yeah, it's luckily Cloudflare and a lot of other companies are getting more wise on how to mitigate DDoS attacks, but hey, it doesn't take much to become the victim of one. Okay, let's see. So there's that article. Move on to article number 3, and this one is probably the most futuristic one that we have in the lineup. Russia. They kind of did a thing where they kind of sort of shot down and blew up a satellite. Instead of waiting for these things to fall out of the fall out of orbit, they decided, you know what, we're going to blow this thing up. It's going to be a lot of fun. So the 7 astronauts and cosmonauts on board the International Space Station sheltered inside their respective spacecraft on Monday morning as the orbiting laboratory passed through an unexpected debris field. And that's really the problem here, was that Russia blew it up. They wanted to experiment a little bit. The problem is the debris cloud went kind of really close to the International Space Station. And they said that had there been a collision during the conjunction, the two spacecraft would have been able to detach from the space station and make an emergency return to Earth. Ultimately, that was not necessary, and the astronauts re-emerged into the space station later Monday. However, as the crew on board the station prepared for their sleep schedules, Mission Control in Houston asked them to keep as many of the hatches on board the space station as possible closed for the time being, in case there was anything else that kind of happened. So the U.S. Department of Defense on Monday issued the following statement saying that U.S. Space Command is aware of debris generating events, and we are actively working to characterize the debris field, there we go, and will continue to ensure all spacefaring nations have the information necessary to maneuver satellites. So they mentioned that this is a large satellite with a mass of about 4,000 pounds. As of Monday, U.S. Space Command said it was already tracking more than 1,000 pieces of space debris. So what seems clear is that it's only beginning. NASA has not had any kind of formal response, but NASA, I'm sure a lot of people in countries who operate satellites in space don't really appreciate the Russians just going around blowing up space debris and making even more problems for everyone else. So they said that during the daily debriefing, U.S. State Department said that the test had created more than 1,500 pieces of trackable debris and hundreds of thousands of pieces of untrackable debris, saying that the Russian Federation recklessly conducted a destructive satellite test of a direct ascent anti-satellite missile against one of its own satellites. This test will significantly increase the risk of astronauts and cosmonauts on the International Space Station, as well as other human spaceflight activities. Russia's dangerous and irresponsible behavior jeopardized the long-term sustainability of outer space. So, they said that it sounds like what happened was Russia wanted to test a missile that could go into orbit on its own and blow up a satellite. You could imagine in times of war, being able to destroy satellites of, the US and cut their communication for the whole area. That would be very beneficial, that they, wouldn't have to worry about satellite imaging. They wouldn't have to worry about satellite communication of their opponent. But to test this, they blew up one of their own, and it created a lot of debris and a lot of problems for everyone. The U.S. State Department did not respond kindly, and I doubt anyone would. I mean, if we ignored every general, I guess, kind of aggressive stance in space, man, there'd be missiles in space right now, armed and ready to go. It's just something that you don't want happening. So for Russia to do this, it put their own citizens in danger and really put a lot of other people in danger, and kind of sets a bad precedent. So there you go. Story number 3. Story number 4. Let's go ahead and talk about New World. Just real quick. Again, a game that I truly do hope that Amazon continues to support this game, because it's a good foundation. It really is. The community is very passionate about it. Honestly, it looks good, and I think the MMO ecosystem could really use a little bit more competition and something good. But something bad happened, and that is a particular glitch with a trading post. It's like the in-game trading auction house kind of thing, where people were once again duping items, trophies, very, very expensive items that are supposed to be very beneficial for your character, take a long time to create. They were finding ways of actually duplicating this item and rendering them almost embarrassingly useless. Because obviously it puts the people who duplicate and cheat way ahead of those who did not. And as the article kind of mentions, any kind of effort you put in is immediately trounced. It's pales in comparison to people who cheat often and first. So during both shutdowns, some players have publicly asked for reimbursement to make up for the loss of value in their game and for the loss of value of their in-game investments. Others have begun despairing for the long-term health of the game as a whole in light of the recurring problems. They mentioned someone on the forum saying that yet again, it's the people who did not take advantage of the exploits falling further behind, and as more exploits keep coming up, any legit effort out there instantly becomes useless. There has been many games in the past that have been killed by hackers, cheaters, and exploiters, and as time goes on, I think this one will meet the same fate if something doesn't happen soon enough. Honestly, Amazon Game, they need to keep refining. Like, it just seems like everyone is participating in a public beta test, and they need to relaunch the game in a couple of months, if not in a year's time. Because once the economy is ruined, once someone has maximum gold, and they have multiple instances over of maximum gold, no one is ever going to legitimately catch up to these individuals. And yeah, the whole thing might just be a nuke it from orbit kind of response. So and this is actually the weird part. On investigation, the community manager notified the community that the developers were aware of the glitch. In response, they said that they were disabling all forms of wealth transfer between characters while they investigate. Any player that has engaged in the use of this exploit will be actioned against. They even said that on November 1st, they notified players of a gold duplicating bug and one of a number of massive glitches plaguing the game at the time. And by November 3rd, Amazon announced that they had banned 1,000 cheaters in a single day. And I guess the weird part is that they, as word of the glitch spread, the price of those trophies began to crater in the in-game marketplace, ruining the investments of time, effort, and in-game money for many legit players. They even, from what I understand, someone had told the developers, this is what's happening, this is how it's done, this is the problem. And the developers didn't listen, and so they took it to the forum, told other people about it, and obviously glitches like that are just going to spread anyways. And then they went into reaction mode, and they shut everything down. They had a chance to really get this before it happened, but I guess because it was over the weekend, the developers weren't going to stop everything for one more glitch in a very glitchy game. But when it happened, yeah, the long-term effects are going to be felt way, way, way beyond this temporary halting of trading. So, yeah, I hope that the game survives its own development cycle, because it clearly has not finished its development cycle, and a lot of people are looking forward to it being a finished game. So, yeah, there you go. Okay, so for our next story, we can talk. I don't say this often, or really ever. The Swedes finally did something that I agree with. And what do I mean by that? This is by Motherboard. Swedish officials call for EU-wide ban on proof of work crypto mining. So crypto mining, I'm sure a lot of people know, is how cryptocurrency is generated. And Bitcoin kind of pioneered this, where they didn't want to just, have someone create an account and just say, okay, you're part of it, you have no investment behind it, and you just get some. So they created this idea of proof of work. They made it so that computers crunched incredibly complex pieces of, incredibly complex equations to mine for Bitcoin, making it so it was like a physical activity that your computer or GPU did to then be rewarded with cryptocurrency. And before, when the blockchain was super small, verifying these transactions didn't really take so much, so they were artificially inflated by creating these very complex math equations. Now, we are much further along. Don't get me wrong, a lot of the verifying the blockchain is hugely important, but at the same time, you still have this artificial difficulty that is added on top of mining cryptocurrency that takes a lot of electricity. You may have heard people talking about the climate impact of cryptocurrency, a completely digital coin, and the fact that Bitcoin requires as much power as like the entire country of Argentina. Things like that. It's very, very it's very energy intensive for no practical reason. It was a forced barrier to entry, and nowadays it's a little antiquated. And by a little, I mean a lot. And it's very, very damaging. So Sweden says, yep, time to ban it. And they said that the call came in a letter published last week, signed by the directors of the Financial Supervisory Authority and Environmental Protection Agency, which promotes stability and efficiency, and that in it, the two directors argue that the social benefit of crypto assets is questionable, and it's outweighed by its enormous energy consumption and carbon footprint. They specifically point to so-called proof-of-work verification protocols used by major cryptocurrency networks, in which they are, again, used to solve increasingly complex computational problems. They have a quote here that the University of Cambridge and Digiconomist, so digital economist, estimate that the two largest crypto assets, Bitcoin and Ethereum, together use around twice as much electricity in 1 year as the whole of Sweden. So you can imagine why Sweden, that really puts it into perspective. Two cryptocurrencies use twice as much electricity as Sweden. We therefore call for the EU to consider an EU-level ban on energy-intensive mining method proof of work. Bitcoin mining alone could consume more energy than Italy by 2024. If you break down the energy used to validate a block of transactions, then in terms of efficiency, one Bitcoin transaction can require as much household power as much power as an entire household does in a week. And think about that. The transactions, again, you can go to blockchain.com and go to the Explorer. Again, if you're watching the video portion, you can see right here, each one of these transactions, let's see, in latest transactions, view all transactions, these are, you're looking at, hundreds of transactions a second, or it's really incredible. And every time this page refreshes, think about that. That's 20, that's 20 weeks worth of household electricity for each of these page refreshes. It's really incredible how quick. And then on top of that, they want to use Bitcoin as a more standard, just buy your cup of coffee. It's not sustainable. And it would really take a change to the fundamental level of how Bitcoin works to make it sustainable. Not saying it's impossible. I mean, heck, we just covered yesterday about Taproot and how they changed the way Bitcoin works as a community just last weekend. It's possible, but it would be a huge change. So they said that, the article continues mentioning that due to the increased focus on CO2 emissions in the light of China's recent Bitcoin prohibition, a greater number of crypto producers are exploring the possibility of using renewable energy for mining. Great if they will, but odds are if coal ever becomes cheaper, they're just going to use coal. It's all about profits, and they're not going to really concern themselves with the environment. So, now, besides an EU-wide ban on proof-of-work cryptocurrency mining, the officials also called for national measures to stop new energy-intensive crypto operations and rules that would prevent companies that invest in them from marketing their activities as sustainable. There you go. Yeah, so that's about it for the article. And yeah, it's always fun watching these cryptocurrency transactions. Admittedly, they're all unconfirmed, but yeah, they'll be confirmed soon enough. And you can see random ones like, 3 million here, 51 cents there, 80 cents, yeah, pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool. Okay, so there's that article. We have a couple more and then we'll call it a day. This whole iBuyer thing, I'm not the most up to date on it, but looks like Los Angeles in particular is looking to combat iBuyers, which, as I understand it, it's places like Zillow and other websites that track the prices of housing. And they start up their own brokerage firms and start to look for houses that are listed for less than they could, go in, buy them electronically, never really step foot in them, and then kind of flip them or sit on them and hold them thinking, we can make the price of property in this area go up if we buy all of the cheap housing. And it's almost price fixing, almost price gouging, but on something that people really can't price gouge. It's not bottles of water or gasoline, it's housing. So they mentioned that, like many other areas of the U.S., Los Angeles is grappling with a housing crisis that is threatening middle-class families. The city ranks among the most unaffordable markets in the country, with housing prices increasing 10% over the last year. Now, they said that they focus on particular attention on high-tech house flippers known as iBuyers, which purchase moderately priced single-family homes, fixing them up and then reselling them, banking a convenience fee in any appreciation. Such companies have been something of an arms race to scale up their operations to gain an edge on the quickly growing industry. So flipping houses has been around for, I'm sure as long as houses have been around, but ever since I know like HGTV has really been pushing as a way to make money. The problem is, when people buy those affordable houses, flip them, and sell them for a lot more money, where are people going to get their starter house? Where are they going to get their first house and fix it up, live in it themselves, when very tech-savvy, large companies come in, swoop it up, buy it up, and fix it up, and then, sell it for way more? There's just no chance for a bargain. And so after announcing the plans this year to make a push in the iBuyer space, Zillow suffered embarrassment earlier this month when it said that it could not adequately evaluate the prices of homes and was instead withdrawing from the sector. But such iBuyers are making headway in the Southern California market, purchasing a record number of homes there this spring, and even more ambitious plans for the future. Yeah, there's going to have to be some kind of regulation if you want actual people living in regular homes. Otherwise, it really is a big reason why a lot of the housing in this country has gone up so dramatically. Hopefully, LA in particular can come to terms and grapple with this. Okay, I think we'll have time. We're going to skip that one. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do two more stories, one good, one bad. And let's start with the bad, and then we'll end with the good. So here we go. Facebook, the bad. Although, I guess it should be the bad and the obvious. Facebook targets children with surveillance ads, research claims. Again, shocking. Who knew? Facebook is still harvesting children's personal data and targeting teens with surveillance advertising, despite pledging to end the practice earlier this year. In July, Facebook announced that it would only allow advertisers to target ads on people who are to people under 18 based on their age, gender, and location. In September, the firm's global head of safety reaffirmed this to the U.S. Senate. Well, the new revelation suggests that Facebook no longer allows advertisers to directly target children, but instead uses data from their online behavior to power an AI delivery system to optimize targeted ads to them, saying that Facebook is still using the vast amount of data it collects from young people in order to determine which children are more likely to be vulnerable to a given ad. So yeah, Facebook is doing what they do best. They took their algorithm and they are applying it to a very high level of detail where they can say that, this child, user number 8438B, whatever, this user is more likely to click on this ad, and that throughput, that willingness to click on things is what makes Facebook money, the engagement level. So by really digging in and making sure that they have as much throughput as possible, Facebook makes the most money as possible. And while it's not using any other metric other than just what they click on and what they look at, it's something that is, something that really needs to be looked at. But obviously, Facebook is getting even more secretive with this. So Facebook responded to the research in an open letter by claiming that the data for teen users appears in its transparency tools because they visit sites and apps that use the tools. We collect data simply because they generate data. It's not our fault for them generating data. We just happen to use it. They're saying it's wrong to say that because we show data in our transparency tools, it's automatically used for ads, they said. We don't use data from our advertisers and partners' websites and apps to personalize ads to people under 18. The reason this information shows up in our transparency tool is because teens visit sites or apps that use our business tool. We want to provide transparency into the data that we receive, even if it's not used for personalized ads. The fact that they keep it, collect it, and show it in the transparency report, if they truly didn't, then they would just delete it. They wouldn't collect it in the first place, or they would absolutely delete it as soon as they got it. The fact that they keep it, again, just blows my mind. So there's the bad. Facebook collecting data on individuals. Who knew? Now, for the good. This is for anyone out there struggling to, get a PC, because there's a general chip shortage and it really is a problem. Check this one out. This one has to do with move that over there. Perfect. Qualcomm. If you don't know them, you definitely know their products. They make pretty much every mobile processor out there. They're up there with ARM. They're huge. Well, Qualcomm is looking to seriously beef up its PC processors, with the company announcing plans for a next-generation ARM-based system on a chip designed to let performance benchmark for Windows PC. That would be able to go head to head with Apple's M series processors. So obviously, Apple making processors, it's great. Qualcomm making PC-ready ones, that's great. Puts a little bit of pressure onto Intel, obviously, but you know what? They need it. More competition, definitely a good thing. So Qualcomm's chief technology officer announced the plans for the new chip at the Investor Day, and with the goal of getting samples to hardware customers in about 9 months ahead of a 2023 launch. The new chip will be designed by the Nuvia team, which Qualcomm has bought earlier this year in a $1.4 billion acquisition. The company is making big progress. In addition to offering competition to Apple's M series chips, Qualcomm is aiming to lead the field for sustained performance and battery life. Qualcomm promised that it would be scaling up its Adreno GPUs as well, with the goal of offering desktop-class gaming capabilities for its future PC products. If Qualcomm can actually become a competitor in both the CPU and GPU markets, even better. That sounds perfect. They tried to break into PC chips before with the Snapdragon 8CX line of processors, but where Apple's ARM-based chips offered a revolutionary experience of power and battery life, Qualcomm's PC efforts have been lackluster so far. I will say, to say that Apple's M processors are revolutionary and, to say that they're revolutionary might be an extreme, too generous to give to Apple. Apple has the benefit of creating the hardware and the software and the processor, packaging it all together and really optimizing everything. Microsoft is a little more hindered, and Intel, Nvidia, they're a bit more hindered because they have to work with everything. If something doesn't work with Apple, it's like, oh yeah, we don't support that. Go heck yourself. But when it comes to Intel and Nvidia and Microsoft, they have to look at you and go, okay, we'll work on it. We'll make sure everything is compatible and everything is maybe not optimized, but at least it works. So it's not an excuse. Apple is definitely bringing good hardware onto the market, but they're not exactly being competitive about it with the like they are their competitors. So, everyone, I think that's about it for the day. Qualcomm, I hope that they get it going. Halo, hey, we highly encourage you to go play that. And everyone out there, thank you so much for tuning into the program. Thank you for catching us. If you were able to catch the live stream, twitch.tv/Computer America. Thank you so much for that. And in the meantime, thank you for tuning in. We have some interviews coming up that we are really looking forward to. Keep an eye on the podcast. Keep an eye on the website, computeramerica.com. Give us a like, give us a follow. And until next time, have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everyone.